Hi, everyone. I am pleased to be here with Joy Taylor, the co-host of this summit. Joy is a way shower, a truth teller. She's the founder of A Soul-Inspired Life, which is a company dedicated to the evolution of consciousness. Just that. And she's also a #1 Amazon best-selling author and the creator of multiple life-enhancing courses and resources. She's passionate about empowering people to contribute to a better world through authentic spiritual embodiment and inspired action. Joy, welcome. It is great to see your smiling face. Hello.
Hello, it's so fun to be here and play this role this time.
We get to switch roles here. Joy, could you just start off by telling everyone what it is that you do? I mean, I read your bio, there's so much there, but on a day-to-day in Joy's world, what is it that you do and help people accomplish?
Well, it starts with self. So I do have some of my own practices that are really important to me and have my daily rituals and routines. And through my life, that's changed. But what stayed the same is knowing that when I take care of this being right here, this one, I'm going to be more equipped, more able to be that conduit. I live in a beautiful place. I live in Mount Shasta, California. So nature is my magic carpet ride. Truly, it is what grounds me, but it is also what ascends me. I always say, you know, Gaia, our earth consciousness, she is evolving and she is moving into these higher frequencies. So if I can align myself from the beginning of the day with nature, I know that, you know, I'm really good to go. So what does that look like? Drinking lots of water, sometimes going barefoot on the grass, absolutely breath, journaling, and yoga. But then it's time to get into my office, which I call the Temple of Joyous Creation, by the way. And my office is a really sacred space for me. What does it look like to encourage and support people in their own empowerment? It is sometimes one-on-one work. It's a lot of online events and trainings. It's these interviews. It's really choosing to be of service. And most recently, it is inviting people into this sanctuary home in Mount Shasta to do private immersion retreats, which I'm so excited about. Really being able to customize an opportunity for deep transformation in nature, in beauty, and with me as a companion guide.
And when you do these retreats, which sound really interesting, can you pull back the veil a little bit and share with us maybe some of the techniques, some of the energies that you work through? How do you, when you bring somebody in who's kind of green, how do you help them along the journey? What are they there to learn and grow through? I would love to get a sense of what these retreats are like.
Yeah, well, it really starts with discovery. So we build rapport, first off, me really getting to know their intentions, and spend time together understanding what they are looking for. So it's always most important to like first get in anything in life, like what's my intention? Where am I headed? What is it that I want? The what? So if I can like hone in and tune in with someone via Zoom or even the phone, which sometimes the phone allows me to feel the frequency. If I know the what that someone is looking for, then I can bring in the how. And so the how can include so many modalities. I've spent my whole life in the intuitive and healing arts. Started as a massage therapist. Even before that, I was a jeweler. So I was an artist of beauty. So I do love to create sacred space. So we do body work, energy work, yoga, dance, ritual. We can do some tea ceremony, definitely spend time in nature, automatic writing, vision questing. Should I go on? I think you get the sense. It depends on who is here And this is what intuition is. It's to have a more intuitive flow, to let the immersion retreat reveal itself to me and the person in front of me. Less agenda, options are available, and then what is wanted in each moment. I found in my life that if I live that way and if I work that way, then what is wanted is more apt to reveal itself, and it will often surprise me. I don't know. I'm making it up as we go along. I'm living in the mystery. Do you want to come join me and do that? Because if we really clarify and pray for that intention, the what, this is what I'm after, this is what I want, we know that there will be support. There will be support and guidance.
Wonderful. And you said that you've been doing this your whole life. It sounds like you have training in a lot and experience in a lot of different modalities. Can you share a bit with us how you got started on this intuitive path, and what kind of spaces have you explored? You mentioned a whole bunch right there. I would love to unpack some of them, but maybe first how you got started on the path, and then if you could share some of the modalities.
How I got started on the path. Well, I was pretty blessed to have open-minded parents. I grew up in the Unity Church environment, which is a metaphysical, like beyond the physical interpretation of the Bible. And my real, probably big kind of spiritual epiphany, my first one, happened when I was 5. I was in Sunday school and we were learning about Jesus. And I remember the Sunday school teacher saying, or we were reading in the Bible, I am the light and the way. And I thought, I want that. I can do that. And I started kind of getting these flashes. That was the clairvoyance that started young. Like I saw myself with Jesus. I'm actually getting, I call them goddess bumps now. I'm getting goddess bumps as I speak it. I felt that frequency. And it was within only a few days after that I changed my name. So I was 5 years old and I was going by Joe. My name was Clarissa Joe, and everyone called me Joe. And I realized I could add a Y and I could be Joy. And then that was more fitting for really who I am and what I'm here to do. So that was something that I decided. And I just started telling people my name was Joy. And I told the school teachers and I told my friends, but I didn't tell my parents. And one night I got sat down after dinner and mom and dad said, school teacher called. They said, you're going by Joy now. I remember this conversation. And, I didn't want to disappoint my parents because they gave me a different name. But really cool parents. And they said, we will change your name. And they legally changed my name to Joy Clarissa when I was 5 years old.
That's really incredible. What cool parents to go, oh, you want to change your name? All right, we'll legally change your name. That's probably why, if I had to guess, you had so much permission to follow this path, which a lot of us growing up, we didn't grow up in a Unity church and get to change our names to what we wanted. So touche to your parents. And so Joy, you had a spiritual experience at 5 years old, which is incredible. And then can you tell us a bit more about what happened as you grew up, and how did you step into being a professional guide and teacher and healer, retreat facilitator? Did that just unfold naturally? Did you do some kind of training for it? Can you walk us through a little bit of that for us mere mortals?
Have you ever heard that saying? I don't know where I got it, but like, I'm just fumbling my way to enlightenment.
Yeah.
It's not a straight path. My life, like anyone else's, has been full of ups and downs and disappointments and amazing times and difficult times and even trauma. And some of that self-inflicted, yes, I had great parents. I grew up in a pretty supportive environment. And, I'm living in this greater culture like all of us. I also think and know that my soul decided to come in to dedicate to collective consciousness and evolution. And so as a woman on the planet at this time, I've had some hard lessons about being strong and secure in myself as a woman, and having a voice. So I'm kind of answering your question. I'll get there. I will say that, did I have training? Yeah, all of life. I mean, I'm such a student of life, but officially, absolutely. Because of the Unity Church, I kind of rose to becoming president and leading my youth group and leading meditations for the youth group and getting really comfortable being a vessel or a vehicle, if you will, which naturally evolved me into the arts and the jewelry and eventually going to massage school. I think I went to massage school because I love getting massage, and I did love giving them. I mean, that's where I really found out that my hands know a lot more than my head. And my hands are an extension of my heart. All of us know that. And practicing the healing arts, not the healing sciences as much as the healing arts, Jin Shin Jitsu, Reiki, having a very thriving practice for years really allowed me to use my gifts. And I found over time that my clients would have these spontaneous healings or these emotional releases. And I found myself stewarding transformation through listening with my fingers, listening with a compassionate heart, listening with my ears, asking empowering questions, which really guided me towards becoming more of a teacher and taking more and more courses in personal development, psychology, leadership. So yes. And most recently, I took a year off and took a sabbatical. And I studied a lot of new tantric and somatic skills, including dance and yoga and movement and emotional release techniques. So I'm just always going to learn. Sometimes I learn through teachers and courses, and sometimes I learn through just, I get a message to experience something. And so my greatest teacher is divine source coming through.
It sounds like you pretty much explored all the spiritual paths, which is really cool, or at least many of them: Reiki, somatic healing, tantra, obviously the intuitive work, massage, healing, Unity Church. That's quite the resume of experience. So for those listening, watching, who maybe haven't had as much experience but want to develop their intuitive abilities and really hone their skills in, how do you walk someone through learning how to be more intuitive? And is it clairvoyance, seeing? Is it feeling? Is it knowing? Is it all of the above? Are there tools? Do you teach classes? How does that work for you when you work with students?
Life is our greatest teacher. When we really recognize that we live in a benevolent universe, life is for us. Einstein said, the most important decision you make is whether you believe you live in a friendly or a hostile universe. When we believe we live in a benevolent universe and life is for us, and we know that we deserve the good coming our way, we then get to engage in the most fascinating conversation. And that is the conversation with life itself. And so for anyone who's like, okay, I don't have time for training, should I take training? It's like, are you kidding? The curriculum is right in front of you. My path to peace is the person in front of me. The guru I've been looking for could be my petty tyrant, as Carlos Castaneda says, right? It's the difficult times, it's the triggers. And as much as I've done the courses and the training, and I can pull from those modalities, if I really am honest with myself, which is what I strive to be, it's been some of my hardest challenges that have taught me the most. And that's what I would encourage people to do, is to journal, track, inquire, and know that life is guiding you and life is teaching you, because intuition is not an event. It's a way of being. It's a way of life. And so I'm less interested in helping people get these intuitive, maybe clairvoyance, like you said, all the clairs.
Mm-hmm.
While they are wonderful and they're tools to get answers, let's just live a more in the flow life and more intuitive life, which will take us where we need to go.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm sure along this path, you've probably hit some challenges as well, right? You know, as even the most joyous people, we have struggles and hardships and sadness and loss and feelings of attachment, confusion, all the things that come with the human condition. What have you learned from the modalities and the experience you've had, the intuitive development work, the Reiki, the healing, all of it? What has really helped you manage those kinds of moments? And are there any of those moments that you want to share, and kind of maybe how you got through the heaviness or the darkness or the stuckness that might benefit somebody who's watching or listening to us?
Yeah. My capacity to feel is gigantic, which at times can be really, for lack of any other word, just intense. So my ability to grieve is strong. And sometimes I don't even know why I'm crying. Sometimes I do because I can see something that happened in my life or something I lost that I miss or a choice I made that had a difficult consequence. So my capacity to feel is profound. And that includes my anger or my regret. And so I believe that one of the skills that I've continued to grow within myself is to hold loving presence for all of me. And that would be something I would offer, when it's difficult, can we have the compassion with self that we have with others? Can I hold loving kindness when I'm in anxiety? And I have struggled with anxiety. I have struggled with bulimia when I was younger. I have had that addictive tendency that was numbing myself. One of my biggest challenges, which is why I do the work I do, is not trusting and giving my power away. So I am that person who would please others even when I knew better. I am that person who compromised myself or played small because I was making others uncomfortable. It changes, it keeps changing, and it changes because of the loving presence. That's number one. I would say number one is bringing loving presence to everything I'm experiencing and feeling, not needing to use my mind to analyze why as much as let those emotions move through. Motion, energy and motion. Emotions are energy and motion. And I know that when I stuff my emotions, which is what bulimia was all about for me, when I stuff them down, I end up with pain. And actually, that was really hard and disruptive for my body to go through that era. So to feel it's important we feel. It's important we feel, and we love our feelings. They'll move when we allow them to come through. The second thing is everything that's happened to me, I frame it up with there's a lesson here. There is a gift and a learning. What is the gift? So even when it's difficult, like I recently made a financial choice that was against my intuitive knowing, I can go back and track why I did it. I didn't want to disappoint someone who had a different opinion. I didn't want to rock the boat. And I made a choice financially that ended up, costing me enough money that it was a significant impact on my life. And in that, I pulled out my tools, let myself release the emotions, and I asked, what are the lessons here? What am I learning? And that, when I start harvesting the lessons and the consequences, that's when I can really truly say consequence is my friend. And so I would say, as we're going through life and having the difficult times and realizing, well, maybe we missed the mark, we made a choice with consequence. What can we learn? And then if we really learn, it'll be different the next time. And as we all know, when we learn something difficult and we embody that transformation, we can inspire others, we can support others. And oh my goodness, this last circumstance that I'm speaking of now, it really brought me to my knees. And David, I needed that. I needed to get humble. I needed to get into integrity with myself at a deeper level. And I really, really, really was ready to cultivate more gratitude for the simplicity of what I have.
That's wonderful. Okay, so no more investing in crypto. Just kidding. So, a couple of really big things there. One, you just going back to the bulimia, kind of when you were describing stuffing your feelings down, which is an interesting way to think about it, because then bulimia is it's coming back up, right? So it's coming up and out. So you stuff feelings down, and then it comes up and out, and that becomes a cycle. And could we just go a little deeper into that? Is because that's not something I've heard too much about before and experienced. And whether it's bulimia or anorexia or just someone who feels like they're overeating or emotionally eating or body image, this covers the majority of us by now. We've all hit some kind of energy around our bodies like that. Can you describe a little bit more of like what that energy was and how you really got out of it? Because that is a tough thing to break free from. And if you're comfortable sharing, like how old you were when that happened.
Well, it ended up being a turning point, but this was in college.
Mm.
And for me, the way I played it out was, yes, I would just crave and I would just decide to eat, eat my sorrows away and eat privately. And how I classic purge was actually to starve myself. So in my case, I would then just take, 2 or 3 days and I wouldn't eat. I'd just drink water and I'd exercise. So I got myself on this roller coaster. So that was my story. How did I get out of it? Self-love, self-love, and self-love. I took a year off of school. I actually remember now, I was at a health food store. I was with my mom in Arizona, Tempe, Arizona, and there was this man doing some kind of demo, and he was an intuitive. And it was some kind of intuitive demo. And I went up to him and my mom was there, and he said something about, oh, you are well over your ideal weight. And this is an emotional issue. And I remember when truth is told, it usually reverberates in the body. And so the first step of any healing is getting the truth, whether someone else tells us the truth, which is the benefit of working with intuitives at times or having really honest friends, or whether we tell ourselves the truth. That was the beginning of my transformation. I had to look in the mirror and say, yeah, I am. And I had to admit, like anyone who's stuck in an addictive pattern, a habit that isn't healthy, that this was not how I wanted to live my life and that I wanted to change. And that's really how it began. So I took a year off of school. I guess I'm into this sabbatical theme. Sometimes we have to take a break. So I've done this twice in my life. I took a year off of school and I got a job as a caretaker helping elderly people. And I looked at myself and I sought out help. And I began meditating. I started getting Jinshin Jitsu myself. And getting that body work is probably what led me to be a body worker. A lot of patience and eventually just a ton of self-love. I start loving myself enough that I want to take care of this vessel and vehicle. And it was also during that year when I was serving the elderly that I think I woke up even more into like, oh, I'm dedicating my life to others. I want to be of service, and I can't be of service if I don't have a healthy vehicle to be of service.
Wow,
So
what a story. Can I just ask one for me, like a missing piece of that puzzle? because you grew up in such a wonderful home. It sounds like Unity Church, leading meditations, and then all of a sudden we're at Joy, being bulimic and having body image stuff. Even in such a great environment, what do you think shifted that led you down that path?
I I even as a kid, I mean, it was a great environment, but there was something kind of not totally healthy around food in my family. And my mom's probably listening, and God bless her. She was a health nut, which I loved. But I early on learned this is good food, this is bad food. So there were just a lot of rules, and that those restrictions and those rules got me to hide candy, to go out for Halloween and get a ton of candy and eat so much of it because I wasn't allowed to, right? So whatever the soul, I take full responsibility for all the choices I made in my life. But there was a habit as a young girl to hide food and eat food. So when college felt stressful, I'm also an empath. And so when it was overwhelming at times, all I knew to medicate myself was food. And the thing about these addictions, they can start really small, but when they're physiological addictions, candida overgrowth, sugar craves sugar. It wasn't just my mind craving sugar, it was actually my intestines, my gut. And I just let it get out of control, if you will. And it just became a bigger cycle.
And it also led to probably your entire career, oddly enough, right? Like, from the way I'm hearing it, is that you went into this dark place, and then to get yourself out, that body work led you to be a body worker, and then to all the other really cool work that you've done. So, wow, what a fascinating story. It's the first time I've personally interviewed somebody where they shared a story of bulimia like that. So I was just really interested in how you're able to navigate through something so intense. And so you said you had two gaps in your life, and the other one you just went through. You just took a year off, which is really interesting. Do you when you take your time off and you're meditating, you're doing your energy work, all the kind of self healing work, is there kind of a goal in that, or were you there just to rest? And has something come out of that you're now building and growing and sharing, teaching?
Can I laugh? Can we just pause and laugh? Was there intention? Yeah. Be careful what we ask for. I really took the year off because I had had a pretty darn intense 2 years prior of doing a lot of work and achieving and really focusing on my career. So in addition to doing my work at a soul inspired life, I had chosen to take a contract or in economic development. So I, like you, David, am an entrepreneur, and I did a federally funded project. It was based on the CARES Act. And it was a lot of it was just a lot of tedious admin, and then ended up hiring a team. So I just knew it was like, okay, I'm off course here. I'm not really doing what I'm here to do. I'm close, but there's something else, and I knew it. And in my experience, sometimes to make these bigger changes, it's good to take a break. So my intention was to embody more of my true nature. And my hope was that I would come back and be able to offer something different and new. So yes, I have changed a lot. In fact, a lot of people have recently, in the last few months, because this was just 2022 that I took that time and traveled internationally and took all these courses, and made some mistakes with the money thing and had some consequences around that, and traveling internationally and taking these courses, I was like faced with having to look at the parts of myself that were stuck. Healer, heal thyself. Teacher, teach thyself. Become the student. I embarked on a journey in South Africa, southern France, Israel, the Czech Republic, where no one knew me and what I did. I was simply joy. So the titles disappeared and the cultural bubble of the United States disappeared. And I chose something like Tantra and somatics and psychology, which is going to mean I get to look at my shadow. And so it was really disruptive in the best way. And so, yeah, I've returned a very different person. And my work is absolutely moving in a new direction because of it. And the way I work has changed to be even more in rhythm and in tune with my being, my true nature, and therefore nature.
And it sounds like you went a bit on your own, a bit of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, coming back to where you began to share the fruits of of your labor and everything you've been through. So kind of full circle, it sounds like to me. That's really fascinating. What is when you say tantra? That's a big word. Can you describe a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, because it fits right in with where we're at. So traditional Tantra, not so Neo Tantra. A lot of people think of Neo Tantra, which is kind of what came to the West, which involves a lot of sexuality. So traditional Tantra is a path, and it is the path of truth. So that's why I lately have been saying I'm a truth teller, and it starts with myself, and I dedicate it to more truth. It's totality. So, in the path of Tantra, it is like moving outside of the world of duality and the polarities, where we begin dancing with all that is and transcending some of the more traditional black and whites into a more full being. And that full being is opening up all her energy centers, in me, in my being. Yes, absolutely. So we're looking at our root chakra, we're grounding. We are in our creative, regenerative, sexual, sensual center, and we are opening up to allow that frequency to come up the spine to the solar plexus, so we're empowered and we're there. We're opening our hearts, we're speaking our truth, we are seeing more clearly, and we're connecting to the divine. And so to me, that is Tantra. And to really be all of that, to be awakened in all of that, it requires truth and personal truth telling. So that's how I would describe it. There are practices in most of the tantric studies. There were a lot of, which is study of intuition, because it is being in tune and it is being in truth. Getting to know the senses, and the more we know our physical senses, touch, smell, taste, hear, all of it, smell, yes. The more we get our physical senses, the more we open up to our intuitive senses. It's a similar muscle because we're really closing our eyes and only listening, and this could be done alone or with a partner. Touching, only touching. So we're growing in Tantra our ability to be in touch with all the senses, including what many people call the sixth sense, the intuitive sense.
Very cool. It's almost a little bit of like mindfulness in movement, in feeling, in emotion, and also touching on maybe our shadow side and the parts of us that we suppress to a certain extent. Maybe that's why so many people focus on the sexual side of tantra, because that tends to be a very suppressed aspect of a lot of human beings. So they find this tantra, which is wanting you to open in every direction, and then they lean into the ones they're having a hard time opening into. So Joy,
Absolutely. Yeah. I
yeah.
was just trying to add to that. I mean, there is so much freedom and liberation. I mean, yes, absolutely. There was dance and there was movement. There was exploration of sexuality as a powerful way of awakening. And you're right, there's a lot of shadow and a lot of programming around our self intimacy and intimacy with others. There's a lot of rights and wrongs that in my experience now have dissolved, and the way through is through. So I walked that edge and challenged myself to confront beliefs. And it's interesting that, you never know where the interviews are going to go. So I love what you're doing, David, because this is fantastic. Here we are. But it is about embodiment and it is about the body. So this girl here who had an eating issue and a body issue and a self-love issue, who needed to take a break, right? And then fast forward 30 years or whatever it's been, taking another break to once again heal the body and get more in touch with the body and be more embodied without the filters of what I should do, shouldn't do, society tells me I need to do. And so being in group settings and dancing wildly, expressing myself fully changed my life.
Wow, a year off to dance wildly, express fully, travel around the world. Sounds like a pretty good year to me, Joy. So touche to you for giving yourself the permission and time to do that. I think a lot of us, we think about doing something like that, but then we put our heads down and continue working or doing whatever it is that we're doing. So I think it takes a certain level of courage to kind of put everything down and go do that. So that's really awesome to hear. You were mentioning, so you got out of the bulimia. The other story you told was the financial thing, and that you had an intuition like this isn't the right direction. I think a lot of us have that experience where we have the intuitive hit. Like I had a friend, she married a guy and it went very badly, and they got divorced within a couple of years. And she told me, when he asked me to marry him, I had this deep intuitive sense like, don't do it. But all of the external factors seemed to align: our families, money, timing. I wanted to get married. He's a good looking guy, all of the things. And so she said yes. But looking back, she was like, I knew it in my gut, in my being, to say no. I said yes. And then all of the intense pain I had to go through to unravel that thing I created was a lot. So it sounds like you were mentioning you had the intuition to say no, you said yes, also level of pain. I guess there's a couple questions in that. One is, sometimes in life, do we just have to go through the thing to experience the pain, no matter what the intuition is? And then the other question is, how do we learn to listen to that intuition and actually take action on it? First, how do we learn to listen? To hear it in the first place, and then yes, and then actually follow it. So those two questions are: sometimes do we have to go through it, and other times how do we actually learn to listen?
Well, I think the Learn to Listen, this summit, I mean, gosh, we are interviewing so many fabulous people, and so much of the emphasis has been on how do I access my intuition? How do I trust it more? What are the skills and the practices? And I would really recommend people listen. I'm enjoying it myself. What I want to add to the story and to this dialogue, the conversation of this summit, is the do we need to go through these difficult times, and how do we trust our intuition better? So it's like there's lots of ways to get more intuitive. It's innate. It's the more you practice it, the more we have it. But the following it in the face of fear or the face of disapproval, that's the face of moving out of patterns. How to follow it in the face of the logical mind, the self-doubt. That's the part that I think is a really strong muscle that does require growth for all of us. Now, I don't know what everyone needs to go through, but I can say that when I've made mistakes or missed the mark, when I've taken a turn that was more difficult than another choice, that I go back to what I talked about before. It's like, what's the lesson here? So I dedicate that choice and the consequence to growing. And what I call it when I teach is I say, hey, it is the power of ing. And what I mean by that is, as much as I want to be a master, I'm mastering. As much as you might want to be perfect, you're perfecting. So as soon as we can just realize it's a process, not a destination, and so I am learning, and really I want to learn through life. I want to learn as I live. It's actually the fifth wisdom of my book: learn as you live. And it's not live and learn, and it's not learn then live. It's sometimes kind of difficult or messy. We're fumbling our way. We're fumbling our way. But when we are okay, and when I'm okay with, I'm learning, I'm trying, I'm evolving. I'm not evolved. Where am I landing? I'm embodying. It's not a destination. And so I just dedicate the hard times to my growth, and I harvest everything I can from them. And one thing I've learned in this process is that if I have regret, that it means I haven't learned all the lessons or received all the blessings yet. And so regret is also welcome. Regret is welcome too. So I get to feel the regret until I don't. And eventually we don't, because we're learning and we recognize the lessons. And not only do we get the lessons, boy, I'll tell you, it makes it more powerful to be an example of that lesson. So if one of my lessons was that humility, that humbleness, if another lesson, which it was to stay in my truth and not do things to please others, or, to be okay with rocking the boat sometimes. If that's what I learned, then I'm going to fully say, yeah, I'm going to take that in, and I'm going to shift the way I live my life from here on out. So we can't really do it wrong. I remember Byron Katie years ago. She's another one of my great teachers. I sat on the couch and was in front of a group. And I remember making the statement, oh, I'm so afraid I'm going to do it wrong. I'm afraid I'm going to make the wrong decisions. And she looked at me and she said, oh, honey, the worst thing you can do is a belief. You can go right, you can go left. The worst thing you can do is think you went the wrong way. So even in this, in whatever mistake anyone is thinking, oh my gosh, I have regret. I shouldn't have married the guy. It was so much pain. It was whatever it was. What if we just actually surrender and say, life is for me. I called it in. This is my great initiation of awakening and learning something new, and cut ourselves some slack.
Hmm.
That's a big one. I've had to do that for sure. Take it easy on myself. Be gentle with myself.
Yeah, that is a big one. Thank you for that. And before we run out of time, could you tell us a little bit about the book? Because you kind of alluded to it, but I would love to hear a little bit more about the book and what it's about, and yeah, just maybe just share a bit about it.
Well, it's kind of coming through today, in as we converse, and anyone who's written a book knows how that works. These books they become frameworks, and they become reference points for the one who wrote them. And so these are 7 wisdoms that came to me in a meditation. The first wisdom was just very simple: life is for you. And I remember writing it down, because the way that I heard it, and it was in this case clairaudient, I heard life is for you. Cool. And then instantly, and you deserve it. You deserve the good coming your way. So this is the slippery one that asks us each to be willing to receive what's coming our way, the good coming our way. We deserve it. Not only do we deserve it, we are it. We are that love. And so that's the first 2 wisdoms. When you know life is for you and you deserve it, as I shared, then you start having this conversation with the universe, and life guides you. So chapter 3 is all about intuition, inner and outer. And then we take inspired action. Sometimes it goes the way we want, sometimes it doesn't. So we choose to learn, which is wisdom 5. And then wisdom 6 is to simply be grateful for all of it, even the hard stuff. That gratitude shifts life. And then the final wisdom is to live on purpose I mean, it's really why we're here, to serve. And really wisdom 6 and 7, those last two, gratitude and service, they're just natural. I mean, once we get to that place, David, you probably experienced this, probably tons of you listening experience this, when we are in that place of strength and we feel more like we're in tune, which is being intuitive, in tune with spirit. Of course, we're grateful. We're grateful for the hard stuff. I'm grateful for the mistakes I've made in my life. I'm grateful for all the times that I did what was safe instead of what I really wanted, which I did a lot of that in my life. I am grateful for the hard lessons. I am grateful for the years of suffering. I really am. It brought me to where I am today. And from this place that I'm in, and I can say for sure after my year sabbatical, more than ever, I just really want to be an instrument, a conduit. You know, even today, before we talked, I'm just in that prayer space. Speak through me. I trust. You know, I love St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joy. Can you just say the name of your book again, and then also let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
Yeah, the book is called Inspired: 7 Wisdoms of a Soul Inspired Life. My website is asoulinspiredlife.com, and there's information there for anyone who wants to take another step on the journey with a companion guide. It's my pleasure. It's my honor.
Wonderful. Joy, it has been, pardon my pun, a joy to be with you and to have you share so much wonderful life experience and wisdom. I think everybody here probably got a healing from listening to some of those stories and how you came out of some of those dark spaces. Really fascinating to hear that. So thank you for all the great work you're doing and being here with us. And um, thanks everyone for listening and watching, and hopefully your intuitive abilities will just start to turn on after listening to Joy. Have an amazing day. See you soon.
I'm excited to share with you a special offer. Clear the way to be your own intuitive. This is a video library with 20 videos, 7 audio activations, and accompanying worksheets designed to support you in embodying your spiritual self-esteem and courage. With wisdom transmissions and practical activities, you will be invited to clear the way in your inner and your outer life so that you can access accurate guidance and naturally enhance your powerful intuitive abilities. The regular price is $197. As a summit participant, you have access to the entire series for $97. Go to psychicintuitiveabilitiessummit.com/joy. I'll see you there.